My name's Carol Wallace and I'm Professor of Food Safety Management here at UCLan. I'm delighted to be joined today by Dr. Pieter-Nel Leuning, who's Associate Professor in the Food Quality and Design Group at Wageningen University and who leads the research there in food quality management. So Pieter-Nel and I are going to talk today about food safety culture. And this is a concept that's very much talked about in industry nowadays. Although there's a lot of research work going on at the moment, I think it's probably fair to say that it's not very well understood at this stage. But a number of us have come to the study of food safety culture from a range of different backgrounds, often from food safety management systems like myself, quality management like yourself. And I think it's been through the realisation of the people factor in being able to produce safe food. So I know that, like myself, you think it's important to look at the evolution of these concepts. So I'd like to start with some background, if that's okay. So first of all, if you could tell me a bit about how you see the background of food quality management to kick us off.
Okay, thank you for this nice question. We discussed a lot about it, about what's food quality management, and then we came up with dividing it in two parts in food quality. And food quality is actually about directing the behavior of foods. And food quality can be seen from a food production perspective. So it's more about the requirements as set by legal requirements, as set by retailers and customers. And food quality can be also seen from the perception of consumers. That's what we call the food consumption system. Yeah. So that part is about understanding the determinants of food quality. But food quality management is also about quality management. And I worked a lot with my colleague from social sciences, and quality management is about directing people behavior. And that's about the quality management systems and about all kinds of factors that influence behavior. So already since more than 10 years, we discussed that connection between food quality and quality management.
Okay, thank you. So how has that developed into what we understand as food safety management systems nowadays?
Yeah, that's really an interesting area. The research on food safety management, as you know, maybe even better than I do, started with product inspection and then moved towards more the process-oriented control of critical control points. And we were involved in various projects and we had to develop kinds of assessment tools. And then we were thinking about what are these food safety management systems actually in practice. And we see it as translations of requirements from the government, requirements from retail via BRC certificates on the design of the system of the company. So companies have to translate all these requirements into their particular food safety management system, and which composes mainly of two major activities. One is more on control, so keeping all within acceptable tolerances. And it's also about assurance, so it is more about providing evidence and confidence. So it's more that translation process that really makes it a big challenge. And you see the differences between companies. Some really try to comply to the rules, whereas others really try to embed it and adapt it to their company.
Okay, great. So historically, it's been very much about the technical side of food safety management. How do you think that's developed then into the systems that we know today?
That's a very interesting question. Also, this point we have discussed a lot. And actually, we developed a new paradigm for food quality. So normally food quality is considered as a function of the properties of the food and the technical conditions applied. So all the measures are focused on product and process measures. But we added human behavior to it. So we say that, and I can show you here, the food quality management paradigm says that food quality is a function of food behavior and human behavior. And parallel to food behavior, human behavior is affected by human dynamics, so it's individual decision making. of people, which is affected by the variation in their knowledge, skills, beliefs, etc. And the administrative conditions that are applied to direct their behavior. And administrative conditions are, for example, the task, procedures and instructions, but also training. So we see food safety management systems as social technical systems. So you have the food production process, as can be seen here, and people interact with it. They have to comply certain hygiene tasks or safety control tasks. And the food safety management system tries to direct people in the right behavior. But they have their own beliefs and knowledge. And so there's sometimes a bit of a conflict in that. Yeah, and that shapes our systems today and also challenges our systems of today.
Yeah, so it's quite a complex picture.
Yes, it is. It is.
Indeed. So how has this led on to your interest in food safety culture?
Food safety culture popped up in the literature already, a few years ago. And my first reaction was, oh, but this is very similar to our food quality paradigm, or the techno-managerial approach, as we call it. But it's more exciting because it's also about social interactions of people. It's about national culture that will play a role. So it's really a complex area which you cannot research by yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. So at the moment there are obviously two important groups working on food safety culture. We have the Food Safety Culture Science Group and the GFSI Technical Working Group in Food Safety Culture. So you and I are both members of the Food Safety Culture Science Group, and also you act as the link between the science group and the Technical Working Group at the Global Food Safety Initiative. So the science group is a group of researchers, and we're working together to try and move this field forward. Can you explain a little bit about what the Global Food Safety Initiative Technical Working Group is and what the differences are there?
Yeah. The Technical Working Group was started last year already in Berlin. We had the first meeting. And there around 35 participants were accepted. They come from industries, small, large industries, farmers, ski makers. So it's really a very dispersed group. And the idea of this working group is to come to work towards a guidance document that can help food enterprises along the whole supply chain to deal with this complex topic of food safety, that food safety culture is. And we started with a lot of discussions to also get a bit of commitment on how people view food safety culture. What are the challenges? What are the drivers? What are tools that they are currently using in practice to get an idea of the prevailing food safety culture? So, and we have 2 years. So, and in January next year, we will have a third meeting, and then we have to present our first guidance document, which is very exciting, and a lot of work still needs to be done.
Yeah, okay, great. So the science group, where I've been involved with the research side of this, we've had a number of discussions in the group about, based on the group's expertise, trying to identify the drivers and challenges and the dimensions of food safety culture, and really trying to understand the concept in a lot more depth. And I know that this has also been further considered by the Technical Working Group, and we're working together to try and establish this framework. So can you give us an update on the work so far and where that has got to?
Yeah, I will. So the science group is indeed plays an important role in the development of this guidance document. And actually that's unique for a technical working group in the GFSI. This concept has not been applied before. What we have done in the technical working group, we worked with 5 dimensions: that were derived from the literature. So it was about vision, emission, risk awareness, people systems, adaptability and consistency. Whereas in the science group we started bottom up and looked and we raised our knowledge, and based upon that we developed a basic analytical framework. I can show you a little bit the concept. It says that each company has a target, and it is food safety, food integrity. Yeah. It's often a combination of both. All companies have their technical systems. It's the technical infrastructure, all the tools and premises they have. But they also have the people system, that are all the people at the different levels. So you have the people at the senior management, middle management and operators. They all have different tasks. And in addition to that, and that's what we discussed also in this science group, we should not ignore, let's say, the people who are not part of the permanent workforce, but are part of an external workforce. Yeah. Think about outsourcing of cleaning and maintenance. Course, yes. Yeah. And they can also affect what's happening in the system. Yeah. And research indicated also that sometimes causes are due to that external workforce. So what we try to capture in this model is all the factors that were discussed in the science group as well as in the technical working group. And we came up with one of the important factors, that's that to let people do the things they need to do, you have to enable them. Yeah. So enabling conditions can be technical in nature, so such as zoning, providing the right hand washing facilities, yes, and things like that. But it's also more the business conditions, like good leadership, communication, empowerment of people, training, increasing competences, etc. Another issue that's very important is that companies are not standalone systems. They are part of a broader system. They are part of a food supply chain. They are in a national context. So they are subject to what we call then those context characteristics. Yeah. So you can have characteristics inherent to the business, but also external characteristics such as the national culture or the supply chain structure. Yeah, yeah. So they cannot affect it, but they have to adapt to it. That's right. And a last issue we included in this framework is the triggers. So there can be a recall in the sector, a wake-up, it's a wake-up call, or there can be changes in the legislation that triggers companies to adapt their systems. And last but not least, we address the individuals as an important factor influencing behavior, because we are not the same. Yeah. And more importantly, we also have to capture that dimension of the group, the social interactions. Yeah. And so it makes it a quite complex picture, but it's a good starting point for identifying research areas and gaps in knowledge.
Yeah, that's great. So I think it's very much still a work in progress, though, at the moment, and we're really privileged that you're able to share the framework with us at this stage. So can you tell me a little bit about what the next steps are going to be?
Yeah, the next step is for the science group to further elaborate this framework and also to match the work of the technical working group with the development of this scientific framework. We decided in the technical working group that we have a version 1.0, and that should be ready in in Houston, that's in February next year. And in January we have our science meeting in Guelph in Canada, and there we have to discuss how these different knowledge areas link together and identify opportunities for research that can serve the food industry.
Yeah, so there's very much more work to be done, and there's a lot of research going on. And I know that there's going to be a range of papers from the science group to take this forward, but also individual members and individual researchers are adding to the literature on food safety culture all the time. So a very exciting area, I think, to be in. So I'd like to ask you now how you think these initiatives will help food businesses in improving their management of food safety.
I think there are two lines of improvement. One that's coming from the science group, so more knowledge is generated. And I forgot to say, but in this science group we also have PhDs, which is really great, because they are the experts of the future, and we were laying the seeds for this new research area. And another benefit is that because it's an interaction between the industry and food scientists, that the knowledge we generate is feeded into this guidance document, because we will also make a kind of awareness platform. So in addition to the guidance document, there will be an awareness platform that will be much more dynamic. People can look up latest developments, latest conferences, things like that. They can share experiences. And the way back is that the industry can also pose questions and say, okay, for example, they use a lot of metrics to measure their performance. And one of the emerging questions is, how can we use our existing metrics to get a better understanding of our prevailing food safety culture? Or a question is, for example, what type of leadership is necessary to enhance food safety culture? So that are questions that come from practice, and we as a scientist can pick it up and set up experience and test it again in the industry.
So it's very much a two-way process.
Oh, really? It's really a two-way process.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's great. So just to finish off, is there anything else that you'd like to add about food safety culture research?
Yeah, it's really an exciting area, and what I appreciate most is that in both groups, as well in the technical working group, where there are a lot of people from industry and scheme makers, as in the science group, there's really an open-minded atmosphere. We really want to share our knowledge and experience to bring it to a higher level, and I like this common goal-driven efforts, and I hope we can remain this. We already put a lot of efforts in it, that we want to keep this open sphere, and that scientists from social sciences and food sciences, but also people from food industry and scheme makers, all together work on this exciting topic.
Okay, well that was a really fascinating insight into the current research in food safety culture and the work of both the Food Safety Culture Science Group and the Technical Working Group at the Global Food Safety Initiative. I'd like to thank Pieter-Nel Looning for joining us today and for this interesting discussion about food safety culture.